My grandpa's ranch, a Texas haven built for peace under whispering pine skies, until Margaret Cunningham, the HOA Karen, called 911 for him, ignoring her knocks. She thought she'd bully him. Clueless, he's the police chief, with a badge to end her reign. Before we dive in, hit that like button to support Gossip Karen. Thanks for being awesome. It was a warm July morning when Grandpa Jack rolled into Whispering Pines, his old pickup truck, packed with boxes, in a single leather armchair, strapped to the bed, rumbled down the quiet streets of the retirement ranch community. I was riding shotgun, my phone buzzing with notifications, but my eyes were glued to the rows of perfect lawns and pristine fences. This place looked like it had been plucked straight out of a catalog. Too perfect, if you ask me. Looks like a postcard, don't it, kid? Grandpa Jack said, his voice gravelly but warm. He adjusted his baseball cap, squinting at the welcome sign. Whispering Pines Retirement Ranch. Peaceful living. Community pride. I caught the faintest smirk on his face. Peaceful? Huh? We'll see about that. I chuckled. Grandpa had always been a bit of a skeptic. At 72, he was sharp as a tack, with a no-nonsense attitude, honed from years of, well, he never talked much about his job, just boring government work. He'd say, whenever I asked, I figured he was some kind of desk jockey, maybe a tax auditor or something. He liked numbers, after all, or so I thought. We pulled up to his new place, a modest single-story house with a small porch and a patch of grass that looked like it had been mowed with a ruler. The moving truck was already there, and I hopped out to help unload. That's when I noticed her, standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, eyes like a hawk. A woman in her late 60s, with a haircut that screamed, "I need to speak to your manager." She was clutching a binder, so thick it could have doubled as a doorstop. Grandpa Jack stepped out of the truck, stretching his back. "Mornin'," he called out, tipping his cap. Friendly, but not overly so. The woman didn't budge, just stared. I swear, the air got colder. "I'm Margaret," she announced, marching over like she was leading a parade. "President of the Whispering Pines Homeowners Association. And you must be Jack Thompson?" Her tone suggested she already disapproved of him. "That's me," Grandpa said, unfazed. He offered a handshake, but Margaret just thrust to the binder into his hands. "These are the HOA rules and regulations. You'll need to memorize them. We take our community standards very seriously here." Her eyes narrowed, scanning the truck. "That chair in the back, it's not regulation furniture. Page 47, Section 3. All outdoor furniture must be approved by the board." I blinked. Was she serious? Grandpa Jack just raised an eyebrow, flipping open the binder. 300 pages. "Huh? You write this yourself, Margaret?" Her lips pursed. "It's Miss Cunningham. And yes, I authored most of it. Standards matter, Mr. Thompson. You'll learn that soon enough." I couldn't help it. I snorted. Big mistake. Margaret's head snapped toward me like a predator spotting prey. "And you are?" Ethan, Jack's grandson. Just helping and him move in." I tried to smile, but it probably looked more like a grimace. Well, Ethan, I suggest you read page 92. Guests must sign in at the community office." She pointed at the house. "And tell your grandfather to fix that mailbox. It's leaning 2 degrees off center." Page 16, Section 5. Grandpa Jack closed the binder with a soft thud. "Mailbox? Huh? I'll get right on that. Miss Cunningham, thanks for the warm welcome. His voice was polite, but I caught the glint in his eye, the one that said he wasn't here to play games. Margaret gave us one last glare before stalking off, her heels clicking on the pavement. I turned to Grandpa. What was that? She's like the neighborhood dictator or something? He chuckled, tossing the binder onto the porch. Every place has a Margaret. Kid, just ignore her. She'll tire herself out eventually. But I wasn't so sure. Something about the way she'd looked at us, like we were intruders, made my stomach twist. I had a feeling Whispering Pines wasn't going to be as peaceful as the sign claimed. The next few days were a blur of unpacking and settling in. Grandpa's house started to feel like a home with his old record player in the living room and a coffee mug collection lined up on the kitchen counter. I stayed to help, crashing on the couch, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every time I stepped outside, I'd catch a glimpse of Margaret patrolling the street, her phone in hand, snapping photos of what? Our trash cans? The angle of the garden hose? She's nuts, I muttered. One evening, peeking through the blinds, Margaret was out there again, measuring the height of Grandpa's rose bushes with a ruler. Who does that? Grandpa was at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, unbothered. Let her measure. She's got nothing better to do. Me? I've got a date with some vinyl records and a cold beer. I laughed, but my unease grew. The neighbors started filling us in on Margaret's reign of terror. Old Mr. Larson, from across the street, whispered to me while watering his lawn. She made the Wilsons repaint their fence 4 times because it wasn't desert sand beige. And poor Mrs. Kim had to get rid of her cat because Margaret said, "It's meowing." I violated noise ordinances. That's insane, I said. How does she get away with it? Larson shrugged. She's got the HOA board wrapped around her finger, and she's got connections. Her nephew's some hotshot lawyer in the city. Nobody messes with her. Nobody, it seemed, until Grandpa Jack. He didn't care about Margaret's rules. He parked his truck and half an inch over the line, just to see if she'd notice. She did. The next morning, an email arrived, copied to the entire HOA board. Violation. Vehicle extends beyond designated parking area. Rectify immediately or face a $200 fine. Page 23, Section 8. I read it aloud, my voice rising. $200 for half an inch? This is extortion. Grandpa just shrugged. Let her write her emails. I've dealt with worse than Margaret Cunningham. Worse? Like what? I pressed. He always dodged questions about his past, but I was curious. What kind of government work made you this calm in the face of a suburban tyrant? He winked. Kid, you don't want to know. Now, help me move this couch. I'm thinking it'll look better by the window. I wanted to push, but I let it go. Grandpa had a way of shutting down conversations when he wanted to. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling he was hiding something. The way he carried himself, confident, almost commanding. I didn't scream. Retired pencil pusher. But what did I know? I was just a college kid, home for the summer. Things escalated. On a Thursday afternoon, I was at the community pool, trying to enjoy a rare moment of peace, when my phone buzzed. A text from Grandpa. Might want to get back here. Margaret's at it again. I jogged home, my flip-flops slapping. Marry the pavement. When I got to the house, I saw Margaret pounding on the front door, like she was trying To break it down, Grandpa's truck was in the driveway. So I knew he was home, but the door stayed shut. Margaret's face was red, her binder tucked under one arm, and she was shouting, loud enough for the whole street to hear. Jack Thompson, I know you're in there. You can't ignore me. This is official. HOA business. I slowed down, staying out of sight. Behind a tree. What was her deal? I texted Grandpa. You okay? She's losing it. Out here. Lot A. His reply came instantly. On a call. Can't open the door. Let her yell. A call? At 3? In the afternoon? I frowned, but stayed put, watching Margaret's one-woman siege. She rang the doorbell, over and over, then started peering through the windows. Finally, after 10 minutes of this, she stormed off, muttering, I'll show him. Who runs this place? I slipped inside, finding Grandpa in his office, a small room, off the living room. He was on his laptop, headphones on, his face serious. He glanced up, pulling one earbud out. She gone? Yeah, for now. What was that about? She was screaming. About official business. He sighed, closing the laptop. Probably another of her violations. Last week, she said my porch light was too bright. Page 67, section 12, or some nonsense. And DHT. This is getting out of hand, I said. She's obsessed. What if she does? Something crazy? Grandpa leaned back in his chair, a faint smile playing on his lips. Ethan, people like Margaret thrive on control. Take that away, and they unravel. Just give her enough rope. Rope? I raised an eyebrow. You sound like you've dealt with her type before. Maybe I have, he said, standing up. Come on, let's grill some burgers. I'm starving. I followed him to the backyard, but my mind was racing. What was Grandpa not telling me? And what kind of call was so important? He'd let Margaret throw a tantrum on his doorstep? I didn't know it then. But that afternoon was just the spark. The real fire was coming, and it was going to burn hotter than anything Whispering Pines had ever seen. The next morning, I woke to the sound of sirens. My heart jumped. I scrambled out of bed, pulling on a shirt as I ran to the living room. Through the window, I saw a police cruiser parked in front of the house. Margaret was there, pointing at our door, her face a mix of triumph and fury. A young officer stood next to her, looking confused. Grandpa, I called, my voice cracking. You gotta see this. He appeared from the hallway, calm as ever, adjusting his glasses. What's all the noise? Margaret. She called the cops. On you. He glanced out the window, his expression unreadable. Well, ain't that something? I grabbed his arm. What do we do? She's telling them. You're, I don't know, a criminal or something. Grandpa patted my shoulder. Relax, kid. Let's go see what Miss Cunningham's got to say. He opened the front door and stepped onto the porch, hands in his pockets, looking like he was about to discuss the weather. The officer, a guy who couldn't have been older than 25, turned to us. Margaret's eyes lit up like she'd just won the lottery. Officer, that's him, she shrieked, pointing at Grandpa. Jack Thompson, he's been dodging me for days, refusing to comply with HOA regulations. He's hiding something. I know it. The officer cleared his throat. Sir, we got a call about suspicious activity at this address. Mind if I ask you a few questions? Grandpa smiled, slow and easy. Not at all, officer. But first, mind if I show you something? Margaret's smirk faltered. I held my breath. Grandpa reached into his back pocket and the officer tensed, his hand hovering near his belt. But what Grandpa pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a small leather wallet. He flipped it open, revealing a gleaming silver badge. The officer's eyes widened. Margaret's jaw dropped. And I just stood there, my brain short-circuiting. Because that badge wasn't some retired security guard's trinket. It was the real deal, embossed with a star and words I could barely process. The silence on Grandpa Jack's porch was deafening. That silver badge gleamed in the morning sun, catching every eye like a spotlight. Officer Daniels, the poor kid in the police cruiser, looked like he'd just seen a ghost. His hand froze near his belt, eyes locked on the words embossed on that badge. Chief of Police. Margaret's face? Oh, it was a masterpiece. Her smug grin melted into a slack-jawed gape, like she'd been slapped with a wet fish. Officer Daniels? Is it? Grandpa Jack said, his voice calm, but carrying that steel I was starting to recognize. I'm Jack Thompson, your new chief. Sorry we're meeting like this. Didn't expect. My first day, to start with. A 911 call. On my own doorstep. Daniel stammered, his notepad nearly slipping from his hands. Chief, sir, I had no idea. The dispatcher just said, suspicious activity. I didn't know. It was you. Margaret found her voice, though it came out more like a squeak. This is impossible. You can't be. You said you were retired. Government work. You lied. Grandpa raised an eyebrow, tucking the badge back into his pocket. Did I? I said I worked for the government. Miss Cunningham, last I checked, the police department counts. As for retired, well, I was. Until the mayor called me up, asked me to take the chief's job. Fresh start. New city. Thought I'd keep it quiet for a bit. I was still processing. My brain stuck on Chief, my grandpa, the guy who taught me to fish and burn toast every Sunday, was the top cop in town. How had I missed this? All those vague answers about his job, the way he never flinched under pressure. It was starting to click. But why hide it from me? Daniels cleared his throat, trying to regain some professionalism. Chief, what do you want me to do? Here, the caller. He glanced at Margaret, who was turning a shade of red that rivaled her blazer. She reported, suspicious behavior. Said you were hiding something criminal. Grandpa's lips twitched, almost a smile. Criminal? Huh? Let's hear it. Miss Cunningham, what's so suspicious about me not answering my door? Margaret clutched her binder, her knuckles white. You ignored me for days, refusing to comply with HOA regulations. That's not normal. People who hide, they're up to no good. I know it. Daniel scribbled in his notepad, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Ma'am, not answering the door isn't a crime. Do you have any actual evidence of illegal activity? Evidence? Margaret shrieked, waving her binder like a weapon. I have pages of violations. His mailbox, his truck, his rose bushes. He's disrupting our community standards. I couldn't hold it in. I laughed loud enough that Daniels flinched. Rose bushes? You called 911 over flowers? Margaret spun on me, her eyes blazing. You stay out of this. Ethan, this is official. Oh, a business. Grandpa stepped forward, his presence suddenly filling the porch. Miss Cunningham, let's be clear. You called emergency services, accused me of being a criminal because I didn't open my door during a work call. That's not just petty. It's a misuse of 911. Officer Daniels, take note of that. End of 74. And a 99. Daniels nodded, scribbling furiously. Yes, sir. Should I, file a report? For a false emergency call? Margaret's face went from red to purple. False? This is harassment. You're using your position to silence me. I have rights. Grandpa's eyes narrowed, just enough to make me glad I wasn't in her shoes. Rights. Sure, but so do I, and so does every resident in this neighborhood who you've been bullying with that binder of yours. I've only been here a week, and I've already heard the stories. The Wilson's fence. Mrs. Kim's cat. You're not protecting this community. You're terrorizing it. The street was starting to buzz. Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains, some bold enough to step onto their lawns. Little Sophie, the kid from next door, rolled up on her scooter, her eyes wide. Mr. Jack, are you a cop? Like a real cop? Grandpa chuckled, kneeling to her level. Something like that. Kiddo, don't worry. I'm one of the good ones. Sophie grinned, then looked at Margaret. Why are you always yelling? Mrs. Cunningham? My mom says. You need a hobby. The crowd murmured, a few stifled laughs, breaking the tension. Margaret's face hit a new color, something like overripe plum. She pointed at Grandpa, her voice shaking. This isn't over. Thompson, I have connections. My nephew's a lawyer. I'll have your badge. Grandpa stood, unfazed. Give your nephew, in my regards. Miss Cunningham, I'll be at the station if he wants to chat. Officer Daniels, escort her home. Make sure she understands the consequences of false reports. Daniels nodded, gesturing for Margaret to follow. Ma'am, let's go. Margaret stormed off, muttering threats, her binder flapping like a wounded bird. The neighbors dispersed, whispering among themselves, phones already out, to spread the news. Sophie stayed, tugging at my sleeve. Ethan, your grandpa's cool? Is he, like, a superhero? I laughed, still reeling. I don't know, Soph, but he's definitely something. Back inside, Grandpa sank into his armchair, looking tired, but satisfied. I couldn't hold back anymore. Grandpa, why didn't you tell me? Police chief, that's huge. He sighed, rubbing his neck. Was gonna tell you. Kid, after the official announcement, next week. It's been a whirlwind, taking this job. Needed to keep things quiet. Tie up some loose ends. From my old post. Didn't expect Margaret to force my hand. Loose ends? I pressed. What kind of loose ends? His eyes met mine. And for a second, I saw something. Not fear, but caution. Nothing you need to worry about, Ethan. Just old cases, old promises. Let's leave it at that. I wanted to push, but his tone said the conversation was over. Still, my mind was racing. What kind of cases? And why did I get the feeling Margaret's outburst was just the start of something bigger? As I watched Grandpa sip his coffee, calm as ever, one thing was clear. Whispering Pines was about to learn. You don't mess with Jack Thompson. The days after Margaret's 911 fiasco were eerily quiet. Too quiet, if you ask me. Whispering Pines felt like a stage, waiting for the next act of a play nobody wanted to see. Grandpa Jack went about his routine, heading to the police station. Each morning, his chief's badge, now clipped to his belt, like it had always been there. Me? I was stuck, replaying that porch showdown in my head, wondering how I'd missed the signs that my grandpa was a total badass. But Margaret, she wasn't done. I knew it, in my gut. The way she'd stormed off, muttering about her lawyer nephew. Screamed, "Round two." And I wasn't wrong. It started with an email sent to the entire HOA listserv, late on a Tuesday night. The subject line? Urgent. Neighborhood safety concerns. I read it aloud. To Grandpa. My voice tight. With disbelief. Residents of Whispering Pines. It has come to my attention that our new neighbor, Jack Thompson, is not who he claims to be. His refusal to engage with HOA standards and suspicious behavior raise serious questions about his character. I have uncovered information that will be presented at an emergency HOA meeting this Friday at 7 p.m. Attendance is mandatory for the sake of our community's integrity. Signed, Margaret Cunningham, HOA President. Grandpa leaned back in his recliner, sipping his coffee, unfazed. She's got some nerve, calling a meeting. After that stunt, what's she gonna do? Measure my mailbox? Again? I wasn't laughing. Grandpa, she's digging. That email, it's not just her usual nonsense. She's got something, or thinks she does. What if it's about those old cases you mentioned? His eyes flicked to mine, sharp for a split second, before softening. Ethan, don't worry about Margaret's fishing expedition. She's grasping at straws. Let her have her meeting. I've handled worse. Worse? Like what? I pressed, but he just waved me off, standing to refill his mug. Classic Grandpa, dodging questions, like a pro. Still, that look in his eyes stuck with me. Caution, maybe even worry. What was he hiding? The neighborhood buzzed with gossip. Old Mr. Larson stopped me at the mailbox, his voice low. Heard Margaret's been at the library, printing stacks of papers. My wife saw her, digging through old news archives. She's obsessed. Ethan, watch your grandpa's back. I nodded, my stomach twisting. Sophie, the kid with the scooter, rolled up later, her pigtails bouncing. Ethan, my brother says, Mrs. Cunningham's got a secret file on Mr. Jack. Like, spy stuff. Is it true? Secret file? I raised an eyebrow, trying to play it cool. Sounds like a movie. Soph, don't believe everything you hear. But her words gnawed at me. By Thursday, the tension was thick, enough to choke on. I caught Margaret outside her house, setting up a tripod with her phone, recording herself, ranting about community standards and hidden dangers. She kept gesturing toward our house, her voice sharp, enough to cut glass. I couldn't hear the words, but I didn't need to. She was building her case, and Friday's meeting was her courtroom. That night, I couldn't sleep. I crept downstairs, finding Grandpa in his office, laptop open, a faint glow lighting his face. He was on a video call, his voice low, serious. Yes, sir, I understand. Number, she won't find anything actionable. That case was sealed years ago. But if she digs too deep, he paused, rubbing his temple. I know, we'll handle it. No need to escalate, yet. He didn't see me, but my blood ran cold. Sealed case? Escalate? I slipped back to the couch, my mind racing. What had Grandpa done? Back in his old job? And why was he so calm when Margaret was clearly out for blood? Friday evening arrived, and the community center was packed. Neighbors filled every chair, some standing against the walls, whispering like they were at a trial. Margaret stood at the front, her red blazer crisp, a projector screen behind her, glowing with the words, "Protecting Whispering Pines." She looked like a general, ready to wage war. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. Tonight, we face a threat to our community. Jack Thompson, who claims to be our police chief, has a past that will shock you. She clicked a remote, and a grainy newspaper headline flashed on the screen. Deputy chief linked to controversial arrest. Suspect injured. The room murmured, eyes darting to Grandpa, who sat in the third row, arms crossed, expression unreadable. I leaned toward him, whispering, "Grandpa, what is this?" He patted my knee, his voice steady. "Just watch. Kid, she's about to step in it." Margaret's smile widened, relishing the crowd's unease. 10 years ago, Jack Thompson was involved in an arrest that left a man hospitalized. Excessive force, they called it. The case was hushed up, but I've got the truth. This man is no hero. He's a danger, and he doesn't belong. In Whispering Pines, hands started going up, neighbors murmuring louder. Margaret was winning them over, and my heart sank. But Grandpa, he just sat there, counting under his breath, like he was waiting for something. What was he planning? The community center hummed with tension. Margaret stood at the podium, her red blazer glowing under the fluorescent lights like a warning sign. The projector screen behind her flashed that damning headline. Deputy chief linked to controversial arrest. Suspect injured. The crowd whispered, some nodding along, others shooting uneasy glances at Grandpa Jack. He sat beside me, third row, arms crossed, his face a mask of calm. But I saw his fingers tap his knee. Once, twice. He was counting again, waiting. Margaret's voice rose, sharp and triumphant. This man, Jack Thompson, hid his past from us. 10 years ago, he brutalized a suspect, a father of two, during an arrest. The case was swept under the rug. But I've got proof. She clicked her remote, and a photo appeared. A man in a hospital bed, bruised and bandaged. The crowd gasped, and my stomach dropped. I leaned toward Grandpa, my whisper urgent. Is that true? Did you hurt someone? He didn't look at me, just kept his eyes on Margaret. Patience. Ethan, she's digging her own grave. Margaret kept going. Her slides. A parade of half-truths. Blurry news clippings. Out-of-context quotes. Even a grainy photo of Grandpa in uniform, looking stern. This is no police chief, she declared, pointing at him. He's a liability. I move that the HOA demand his resignation for the safety of Whispering Pines. Hands shot up. Maybe half the room, neighbors who'd waved at us yesterday, now swayed by Margaret's theatrics. My heart pounded. She was winning. I grabbed Grandpa's arm. You gotta say something. They're buying it. He patted my hand, his voice low. Not yet. Kid, let her finish. Margaret beamed, sensing victory. All in favor of the motion. Raise your hands. More hands went up, the murmurs growing louder. She turned to Grandpa, her smile venomous. Mr. Thompson, care to defend yourself? The room went silent, every eye on us. Grandpa stood slowly, his movements deliberate, like a lion, sizing up prey. He didn't go to the podium, just stood in the aisle, hands in his pockets. Miss Cunningham, that was quite a show. Lots of effort. I'll give you that. One question. Did you check the full story on that case you're so proud of? Margaret's smile faltered, just for a second. The facts speak for themselves. That man was nearly killed under your watch. Grandpa nodded, pulling a folded paper from his jacket. Nearly killed. Sure. Want to tell these folks why I arrested him? Or should I? The crowd leaned forward, Phone's out. Recording. Margaret clutched her remote, her voice shrill. That's irrelevant. You used excessive force. The article. The article. Article's only half the story. Grandpa cut in, unfolding the paper. This is the rest. Daniel Harris, the father of two you mentioned, convicted of armed robbery and running a drug ring. Out of his garage. Those kids? He held them hostage to keep his operation quiet. When I arrested him, he pulled a knife. It tried to take me down. The injuries? From him crashing into his own stash while trying to flee. The room erupted, murmurs turning to shouts. Margaret's face drained of color. That's a lie. You're twisting it. Grandpa held up the paper, his voice steady, commanding. This is a commendation from the governor for saving those kids and shutting down Harris's ring. The case was sealed to protect the family. But you, Miss Cunningham, just aired their trauma for your little vendetta. Shame on you. Neighbors gasped, some clapping, others glaring at Margaret. Sophie's mom, standing in the back, shouted, You lied to us. Margaret, that's low. Even for you. Margaret stammered, her remote slipping to the floor. I didn't know. I only found the article. Didn't know? Grandpa stepped closer, his eyes like steel. You didn't want to know. You cherry-picked scraps to slander a public servant. That's not just wrong. It's illegal. Libel, harassment, misuse of emergency services. My legal team's already on it. The crowd roared, phones capturing that every second. Margaret's face cycled through colors. Red, white, green, like a broken traffic light. She pointed, a shaking finger. You can't scare me. My nephew, he'll sue you. All of you. Grandpa smiled, cold and sharp. Tell your nephew to call me. Miss Cunningham, I'll be at the station cleaning up the mess you made. The HOA board members, sitting at the front, looked like they wanted to vanish. Old Mr. Larson stood, his voice booming. We remove Margaret as HOA president. She's done. Enough damage. Hands shot up. Nearly everyone. The room chanted, Vote! Vote! Margaret grabbed her binder, fleeing the podium, her heels clacking as she bolted for the door. The crowd cheered, some laughing, others shaking their heads. Sophie tugged my sleeve, grinning. Mr. Jack's awesome. Told ya, he's a superhero. I laughed, but my mind was elsewhere. That sealed case, the way Grandpa said. Legal team. There was more to this. Back home, I cornered him. Grandpa, level with me? What else is in your past? Why's that case sealed? He sighed, sinking into his chair. Ethan, some things are better left alone. That case, it's old, painful, but it's not what Margaret thinks. Trust me, I'm handling it. His eyes said don't push, so I didn't. But as I lay on the couch that night, one thing was clear. Margaret was down, but not out. And Grandpa's secrets? They were bigger than Whispering Pines. Whispering Pines felt different. After Margaret's HOA meeting meltdown, the air was lighter, like the neighborhood had finally exhaled. Margaret kept a low profile, her blinds drawn tight. Her usual patrols, replaced by an eerie silence. Grandpa Jack went back to his routine, heading to the police station. Each morning, his chief's badge gleaming. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Margaret wasn't the type to slink away. And Grandpa's cryptic talk about sealed cases kept me up at night. The calm broke. A week later, at the neighborhood's annual picnic in the park, families spread blankets across the field. Kids ran wild with water balloons and a local band played off-key covers. Grandpa insisted. We go. Got a show. We're part of this place. Ethan. No hiding. I agreed, but my eyes kept scanning. For Margaret. She'd been too quiet, and that scared me. More than her binder. We found Sophie and her family near the food tents, the kid waving us over with a grin. Mr. Jack, Ethan, saved you. A spot. She was clutching her phone, her eyes sparkling. You gotta see this. It's huge. She showed us a video on her YouTube channel titled HOA Karen versus Police Chief. Epic fail. My jaw dropped. It was the HOA meeting every second of Margaret's meltdown, caught in high definition. Her red face, her shaky accusations, Grandpa's calm takedown, all there. The view count? 2.3 million. And climbing. Sophie, you posted this? I asked, half impressed, half horrified. She nodded, bouncing on her toes. Yup, my brother. Helped edit it. We're viral. Ethan. Viral. Grandpa chuckled, ruffling her hair. Nice work, detective, but keep that phone handy. Never know when you'll need it. I glanced at him, catching that glint in his eye. He knew something before I could ask. A murmur rippled through the crowd, heads turned toward the edge of the field, where Margaret stood, alone, wearing sunglasses and a scarf, like a bad spy disguise. She was holding a stack of flyers, her face set in grim determination. Oh no, I muttered. She's back. Margaret marched toward the picnic, handing out flyers, her voice loud enough to cut through the music. Residents, read the truth about Jack Thompson. He's no hero. He's a fraud. The flyers had that same grainy photo from the meeting with a headline screaming, Police Chief's Dark Past Exposed. My heart sank. Grandpa took a flyer from a passing kid, scanning it, his expression unreadable. Persistent. I'll give her that. Sophie tugged my sleeve, her phone already recording. She's nuts. Should I post this too? I hesitated, but Grandpa nodded. Go for it, kiddo. Let's end this. The crowd gathered, some reading the flyers, others whispering. Margaret spotted us, her eyes narrowing. Jack Thompson, she shouted, pointing. You thought you could silence me? I've got more. That case. 10 years ago. It's not what you say. I found records. Witnesses. You're finished. Grandpa stepped forward, hands in his pockets, calm as ever. Miss Cunningham, you're digging in the wrong dirt. That case? Sealed for a reason. Not to hide my guilt, but to protect people. You want the truth? Ask me, right here, right now. The crowd hushed. Phones out. Sophie's camera rolling. Margaret faltered, then doubled down. You attacked that man. Daniel Harris? Witnesses saw you, brutalizing him. I've got their statements. Grandpa sighed, pulling out his phone. Statements. Huh? Let's clear this up. He tapped the screen, and a video call connected, projected onto a nearby tent by some tech-savvy neighbor. A woman's face appeared, middle-aged, her eyes tired, but grateful. This is Laura Harris, Grandpa said, his voice steady. Daniel Harris's sister. Laura, tell them what happened. 10 years ago. Laura's voice trembled, but she spoke clear. Jack Thompson saved my nephews from my brother's drug ring. Daniel was violent, dangerous. He attacked Jack during the arrest. Jack didn't hurt him. Daniel's injuries were his own doing, trying to destroy evidence. Jack risked his life to get those kids out. He's a hero, not a monster. The crowd gasped, then cheered. Margaret's flyers slipped from her hands, scattering in the breeze. Her face crumpled, no colors left to cycle through scare. That's not true. It's over. Miss Cunningham, Grandpa said, his voice firm. You've slandered me, harassed this community, and wasted everyone's time. My legal team's filing charges. Tomorrow morning. Margaret turned, fleeing through the crowd, her scarf trailing behind. Neighbors booed, some tossing her flyers into a trash can. Sophie's video ended, and she uploaded it, right there, whispering, "This is gonna break the internet." Within days, a for sale sign appeared at Margaret's house. She sold fast, at a loss, and moved, rumors said, to a condo in Arizona, where she promptly tried to start a new HOA. Good luck with that. Sophie's video hit 10 million views. That her channel, now a local legend, with a series called Karen Takedowns. That night, Grandpa and I sat on his porch, beers in hand. I finally asked, "The sealed case, was it really just about protecting those kids?" He looked at me, his eyes soft but guarded. "Mostly, Ethan. Some cases, they leave scars. Decisions you make under pressure, they don't always look clean, out of context, but I stand by everyone." I nodded, letting it go. For now, Whispering Pines was peaceful again, but I knew Grandpa's past held more stories, and I'd hear them someday.